And start the session. Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Om Mannado Sri Jagannatha Madguru Sri Jagadguru Mamatma Sarva Bhutatma Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Om Akhanda Mandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. The only Guru of three religions, Tritathiram originator, sensational writer, Hindu virtue donor, and the author of more than 100 divine holy scriptures, Sri 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 Acharya Prabodhananda Yogeshwaralu. So, we are learning Sankhya Yogam chapter. So, last time we learned the 23rd Slokam in Sankhya Yogam. What that Slokam says is, the mortal soul cannot be cut, cannot be burnt, cannot be soaked, cannot be pushed by the air. So, here's because why that is, so the mortal soul is very, very tiny, smaller one. He is inside the head portion. So whenever there is a danger to the body, like a king, he will have a secret tunnel passage. So whenever there is a whenever they attack his fort, the enemies, so then he will escape from that tunnel secretly. So that way he will be saved himself. In the same way, whenever there is a danger and whenever the body is going to be destroyed, immediately the mortal soul will go out from the body. So to the Jivatma nothing is going to happen. So the fire, air, water, earth can't do anything to the Jivatma. That is a mortal soul. That's what the last week we came to know from that Slokam, 23rd Slokam. So today let us learn the 24th Slokam, what it says. Achedyo ayam adahyo ayam akledyo ashoshaye vacha nitya sarvagatasthanu rachalo ayam sanatanaha. So, there is a similarity between 23rd Slokam and 24th Slokam, since here it says he will be there forever, he is spread whole world, and he is stable and he has no movement at all, and he is Sanatana. So he cannot be cut, he cannot be burnt, he cannot be drowned, he cannot be pushed. So who is that? That we have to know. So on the 23rd sloka, in the 23rd sloka, what it was said, it was completely said about mortal soul. Mortal soul is inside the head. So whenever there is a danger to the body, so he will escape from the body. So nothing can be done to the mortal soul. Here we need to understand that there is a bigger difference between mortal soul and the absolute soul. The absolute soul is the one, it is omnipresent. He is there in every molecule, atom, whatever you take, he is spread everywhere. So he doesn't need to move here or there. He is stable. He is spread everywhere and he is forever. He is permanent. So, but the mortal soul, he got karma, he is inside the body for a particular period of time, as long as his initiative karma is there to experience. Once it is done, he has to die and he has to transform his body. He has to transform into another body. There he has to continue his life over there. And whenever his karma is destroyed, it becomes zero, then he will not exist. He will merge with the absolute soul. So here clearly the Slokam is completely different from what we knew about the mortal soul in the 23rd Slokam. So even though both have the similarities of which both of them cannot be cut, cannot be burnt, cannot be soaked or drowned, cannot be pushed by the air, but the mortal soul is a tiny particle and he is destroyable, but absolute soul is not a tiny, he is the one who created whole universe and he is infinite. So that way we can differentiate among between these two, the mortal soul and the absolute soul. But the characteristics which were taught both are applicable to the mortal soul and the absolute soul. But when we know about the speciality about the Paramatma, the absolute soul, he is not going to be destroyed. He is forever. So he is spread everywhere. So let's go to the 25th slokam. Avyaktoyam achintyoyam avikaryo ayamuchyate tasmadyevam viditvainam nanushochitumarhasi. So Bhagavan told about the Jivatma, that is mortal soul, in 23rd slokam, and about absolute soul in 24th slokam. Now in 25th slokam he would like to tell about the immortal soul, because immortal soul is in between mortal soul and absolute soul. And we came to know that mortal soul and absolute soul cannot be burnt, cannot be cut, cannot be drowned, cannot be pushed by the air or wind. But here what he is telling is, he is telling about the immortal soul, that about immortal soul you cannot tell about that, you cannot know by thinking, and there are no the emotions attached to that. So that is about these are the main characteristics of the immortal soul. In that case, why do you lament for that? That's what Bhagavan is telling over here. So when we consider about a body, inside the body there are two souls. One is Jivatma and another one is Atma, that is mortal soul and immortal soul. So the immortal soul is not the entity of the external world. If that is an entity of the external world, you can identify that and you can tell more about that, but it is not that. And also you cannot see that one. So if you can see that one, you can describe about that. And if you feel about that, you can say this is Atma, but you cannot feel that also. That feeling you cannot explain how it is. If you think that with the mind you can know, when you think about the immortal soul, what happens now? If it is a matter, if it is a subject of the external world, then you can think about that and tell it. When it is not a subject of the external world, how can you think about that? How can you put focus on immortal soul and tell about that? So it's not possible at all. That's why in the Slokam he said, Ma Chintoya. So it cannot be reached by your thoughts. So that's what. So it has no emotional, the uh, emotions. What is that? Vikaras, guna vikaras. Gunas means emotions. Emotions means emotions, the feelings, emotional feelings. So whatever the emotional feelings are there, those emotional feelings are no way attached to the immortal immortal soul. So with that also you cannot say anything about that. When the immortal soul is like that, then nobody need not lament for that, because immortal soul has no emotional feelings at all, no emotional feelings at all, and it's not going to lament at all. So we know that the what is that, hair is a symbolic representation for immortal soul, because when you cut the hair you don't get any pain. So that's why Lord Krishna was called as, we call the Lord Krishna as Keshava. Kesha means hair. So hair represents the uh, immortal soul. So that is what. For that immortal soul, you need not worry about that. That's what God said in this slokam. So if you think that I am not lamenting for the immortal soul, so I am lamenting for the immortal soul. In that case, what Bhagavan is saying, let us see. अधच्चैनं नित्यजातं नित्यं वा मन्यसे मृतं तदापि त्वं महाबाहो नैवं शोचितुमर्हसि. So here he is saying about the mortal soul, if not that, if you know when mortal soul continuously takes birth and death, so why would you lament for that? Anyway, we know that, right? If he dies, again he is going to born. If he borns, after some time again he is going to die. So this is like a cyclic, a wheel kind of thing, birth and death continuously. That's why God says, if not you are lamenting for mortal soul, if you are not lamenting for the immortal soul, if you are lamenting for the immortal soul, the mortal soul is always taking birth at one place, and after that he is living for some time, then he dies, then takes birth in another place, and he is not going anywhere else. He will be living on the earth itself. So if that is not the case, if you know about that, so if you think, if that is not the case, if we know anyway he is going to born again, but we have the attachment with him because he lived with us, he left us, so we are not able to see him again. So that is what I am lamenting for that. If that is the case, God is telling another slokam, what he is saying. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrutyur dhruvam janma mrutasya cha tasmada pariharyerte natvam sochitu marhasi. Of course, you may be thinking that since he lived with us but he left us, so because we are lamenting for that. But you should know one thing, that whoever borns, he will die. Whoever dies, he will born. This cannot be changed at all. Why do you lament for that? That's what he is saying in this 27th slokam. That is also, he talks about the mortal soul only. So wherever he borns, after some time he will die. So he may born in a poor family, he may born in a rich family. So we may have some question over here that, so why should he born somewhere else? Wherever he born first time, there itself he can born, right? So since he is departed from us, because of that we are lamenting so much. So if we think deeply about that, if that happens, like wherever he dies he burns there only, then there will be a bigger problem to this world, the drama of the entire world. In the drama we cannot know who is the behind that and who is the role playing in this world. So we know that the nature mother nature and father and paramatma, the absolute soul, both are playing this world as a drama. So if that happens, like the mortal soul wherever he dies takes birth only, then the drama will go in a different direction. It will not achieve the purpose of the God. He established uh, the law, whatever he established, and how he is for enforcing this law through the nature. So he created the nature and he uh, established the system of the nature, and inside that system there are emotions and the organs and also so many things he fixed in this. And because of that the system, so the birth is happening after some time, death is also happening. So everything is, he arranged this world in a systematic way, so that the machine, when it starts its purpose, how systematically it does the same thing, he did it over here. And also whenever God himself takes a human form, then also he will follow according to the nature itself. So like that he made the system robust, so nobody cannot change that. That's why the mortal souls also have to take birth, and they have to undergo the death as well. So nobody cannot cross over that one. So he is saying that, so which is impossible to cross over the system, so we need not lament for the mortal soul's death. That's what he is saying. So whenever the mortal soul lives for some time as a life, he lives some time, after that he dies. Because of that he is departing from us, we are lamenting for that. If we know that, at least if we know that he departed from us, but if we know he born somewhere else, then we can't lament for that. So in that case, if that happens, your sorrow becomes double. Instead of lamenting for 1 or 2 days, usually what happens when a important person departs from their family, they will lament for 1 or 2 days. After that they will forget and they will involve in their daily tasks. If not that, suppose if a person from a rich family dies and takes a birth in a poor family, what happens? They know that as a rich family how they took care that person. So when he borns in a poor family, he will face so many hurdles in the life, and he cannot even eat good food. So what they will do, so as long as they remember that their person born in the poor family, every day they will be lamenting for his situation. So that is why God disconnected all those things and he made the robust mechanism. He made the robust mechanism so that these kind of deviations never going to happen. That's what he said. So that's why he made not to know the past birth to everybody. So still he is telling more about that in the 28th slokam. What he is saying, अव्यक्तादीनि भूतानि व्यक्तमध्यानि भारत अव्यक्तनिधनान्येव तत्र का परिदेवना. What God is saying here is the births of the mortal soul and deaths of the mortal soul cannot be known, but the middle life between birth and death can be known. So in that case, why do you lament for that? That's what God is saying. This Shlokamu is also tells about the mortal soul. So nobody knows from where this mortal soul is coming and taking the birth. And after they spend some time in the body, when the death arrives, so after death, where the mortal soul is going, nobody knows. Even himself also does not know, and also to the outside people, they also cannot know this one. But they will have relationship in the life what they are leading. So they will be taking a birth in a family, and they will grow him. He will grow up there, and they will take care of him. They will have a relationship, life relationship. So that's why when that relationship is broken, how it breaks, when he dies, the relationship is gone. That's why they will lament for that. So if we look into one example, if there is a couple, in that couple, if a husband dies suddenly, wife remains there. So wife will have the memories of her husband, and also there will be a thread, holy thread tied during the marriage, and also there are rings which are given to her during that time. So when her husband dies, then she will remove that, and she will think that he is never going to come back. That's gone. If that is not the case, if she knows that he born somewhere else, then what she does? She does not remove her sacred thread and which are given during the marriage. So then what she does? She doesn't let him to get married to another one. And also another example, if there is a rich man, he dies. If he takes a birth in a poor family, then the rich people knows that, then they will go there and they will fight with the poor people and bring back their child. If there is a rowdy, if he borns in a good family, then good family people won't take care of him, thinking that he is a bigger rowdy. So like that, there are so many complex things come. So what God made, God disconnected completely all those things, not to known to the any mortal soul, how they are taking birth, how they die, and again take birth in another family. So if it is not done, then the theorem, karma theorem itself will go into the danger state. So God, what he did, he disconnected everything, so nobody knows their past birth life, how they led there. So that's why God is saying that avyaktadini bhutani vyakta madhyani bharata avyakta nidananyeva tatra ka paridevana. That means, so nobody knows about the births, how jivatma, how mortal soul is taking birth, and how he dies, but everybody knows the middle life, so how they led their life. To explain more, God is saying another Shlokamu over here. Let us see that आचार्यवत् पश्यति कच्चिदेनम् आचार्यवत् वदति तदैव चान्यः आचार्यवच्चैनमन्यः शृणोति श्रुत्वापि एनं वेद न चैव कच्चित्. So here he is telling another slokam about the mortal soul and about his life here. So he is telling about his middle life. So the life between the birth and death he is saying over here. So the people what they are saying, what they are thinking about the mortal soul's life. So one person, what God is saying, one person, he is watching surprisingly the tasks, the actions which are happening from the in the life of a mortal soul, and another person is listening to that surprisingly, and another person is telling very surprisingly about that, but nobody knows the real state of the mortal soul. He is saying. So many people, not many people, everybody don't know before birth how he was, after death what it is going to be to him, but everybody knows the middle life, the state between the birth and death. And they are telling more about surprisingly about a person, what he is doing in his life, with his skill what he is doing. There are so many people in different areas. In those areas they are excelling like anything. So one person will watch about the skill of another person very surprisingly, like if there is a gymnastic person, if he is a scientist, if he is a prime minister or a president or something, so the person will be watching surprisingly, and some other people what they will do, they will tell surprisingly all the things what that particular person did with his skill to another person, he will be telling, and another person he is going to listen to that very surprisingly, but nobody is going to recognize the mortal soul and his real state, how it is. So here the noticeable thing you have to know here is, many people not knowing the mortal soul's state, they explain this slokam that this slokam is related to the immortal soul. So that is totally wrong. Because of that, the Bhagavad Gita notion itself went into a wrong direction. So what they thought, since they don't know the difference between mortal soul and immortal soul, they thought that whichever is white is like a the same thing, like see, camphor and salt looks like same. They thought that both are camphor itself. That is totally wrong. So here we came to know that the mortal soul and immortal soul both are living inside the body itself, but both are completely different. But here when they said, when they came to know Dehi means they thought it's mortal soul, it's immortal soul always. But we know mortal soul and immortal soul both are called Dehi because they both live inside the body, but both are completely different. Jiva, the mortal soul is a tiny particle, tiny one, and immortal soul is the one which is spread whole body. It does all the tasks, but mortal soul only experiences happiness or sorrow only. So who can give better explanation? The one who knows with experience can give more better explanation. The one who knows only theoretical knowledge, he cannot explain the difference between mortal soul and the immortal soul. So here we need to know that this slokam is completely talking about mortal soul, not about the immortal soul. That is why Bhagavan said over here that the people are talking about the mortal soul, the people are listening about the mortal soul, the people are looking about the mortal soul, actions, how it is happening from their body, but nobody knows the real state of the mortal soul. That's what God said. And also in the above Slokam, we came to know that immortal soul cannot be known to a thoughts, cannot be described with a picture, with a shape, how it is like that. And the immortal soul cannot have any emotional feelings at all. So such kind of immortal soul, how can we say over here that somebody is looking at that, somebody is telling about that, somebody is listening to that? So here this slokam is completely talks about mortal soul, not about the immortal soul. So when you know about three souls, mortal soul, immortal soul and absolute soul, then you can clearly identify which slokam talks about which soul. So Swami gave best explanation over here, so we can clearly understand about this. So let us stop this session over here. If you have any doubts, you can ask. Let us do Prarthana and stop the. Let us do Mangala Prarthana and stop the session. Om Mangalam Gurudevaya Mahaniya Prabodhatmane Sarvaloka Sharanyaya Sadhu Rupaya Mangalam. Prabodharpanam to everyone.